couple new subscribers. So welcome, I'm Elise and I'm awkward, but I also like to do sewing projects, and apparently I'm on this embroidery kick, and I also really like to make extra projects, not like extra items for a project. I'm talking about real extra, okay? Like over the top, totally ridiculous and not practical. It's my jam. So I hope that you enjoy. Anyway, you clicked on this video because I made an 18th century rump. I think it looks fantastic. I absolutely love it, and it came out so much better than I initially planned for and thought of, so that's really exciting for me because that doesn't always happen. The real motivation behind this project wasn't so much to really just have a nice product and have something that would go perfectly well with this costume that I have in mind, but mostly that I just needed to get this costume done, and it needed to be done quickly, and I don't care how it turns out, no one's going to really see it. I need foundational supports so I can actually get this project finished. Yeah, but that didn't really happen. OTT me decided to add embroidery. So, and that's something that you would probably never ever see on a pair of undergarments like this. Something that would probably be washed. You're just really rough on in general. So anyway, I just decided, why not? I'm on this embroidery kick. Embrace it. The materials that I had was just barely enough. I had almost a yard of leftover bed sheets that I had used for my pocket that I made in the last video, and I ended up needing to piece some of the backside together a little bit, which is fine because nobody can see it, and I did a good job kind of. Nah, it just looks tacky, but you can't see it. This whole dang thing is sewn by hand. And I'm telling y'all, I need to get 5 thimbles for these fingers because look at that. You can't see it, but I've got huge chunks of skin just coming off, and it hurts like the dickens. So if you don't have a thimble, like me, do the thing and get the thimble because I'm telling ya, it'll really save you from hurting. So yeah, anyway. And then of course embroidery floss because it would be an extra for this project. I also really wanted to make a petticoat for this project, but this was just taking up way too much time, and I figure I could save that for the next video, which I'll still have to sew by hand. Ay, what have I done? Everything has been self-drafted, and with that said, let's finally get into the construction process. The shape of this rump was a more popularized design that is frequently recreated and used in the historical costuming community, but also is one of many different variations of false rumps for the 18th century. There were several that I was really seriously debating on. One was, of course, this design, but then another was just making a simple bum roll, but also like the two pillows that sit on the back side. It's, you know, we have the pillows. I don't know what it's called. There were a couple others that looked really interesting and easy to do, but I really liked the shape of this one, and there were some tutorials that I can sort of get inspiration from. I didn't follow any tutorials, I just sort of did it myself. But when I was first coming up with this design, I sort of went off of Bernadette Danner's video that she had made, just cutting a single long piece of fabric and then sewing the channels in between to be stuffed. And I made a mock-up of that and tried it on my dress form and tried it on myself, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like that there just wasn't enough volume for what I was looking for, because this is going to be worn primarily under a polonaise gown. I just didn't feel like it would give me enough support and enough volume that I wanted. So, although I still wanted that same design, I needed to sort of change it up a little bit to incorporate what I wanted. I decided to individually cut out each poof of the rump into like little pies, and then sew them together, so each one together in the form of like a quilt.
Most of the time, I really like to have a color scheme picked out first, so I can easily come up with a design that would complement the colors and make it all kind of look nice and go together. And probably the main thing was to see if I even have the colors in my large stash. I asked you guys to help me narrow down the best color scheme on my Instagram, and fortunately, you guys really liked two of my favorites. So the first one that you guys just loved was the color scheme that is on this rump. And it's kind of more of a rich autumnal color scheme, like classic Vermont fall with the golds and the bright reds and the really nice burnt oranges and some browns. So that one was my favorite, and I really appreciate you all picking that because I think at the end of the day I was going to pick that one anyway. The next step was then trying to come up with an actual design itself. And typically what I like to do now that I have a color scheme in mind, I like to research. Go on Pinterest. Pinterest is a great place if you are a little bit stuck, you need a little boost of creativity. That's a really great place to go. However, if you are researching embroidery, it's really important to not copy somebody else's stuff. I think it's okay to have similar color palettes. My rule of thumb is if I find something that's in the public domain, like an extant garment belonging to a museum, then that's kind of like free game, you know, kind of like, all right, well, that works for me. So that's exactly what I did. I typed in 18th century embroidery on Pinterest, and literally the only things that really pop up are a couple extant pockets and all the men's jackets just loaded with gorgeous embroidery, and like, it's what dreams are made of. It makes me wish that I had an embroidery machine because I would totally abuse that thing so hard. The first picture that came up was pretty much exactly what I was looking for. Something that had some height and a little bit of length, so I can kind of frame something in a nice corner. So the first design mainly incorporated the same color scheme as the original photo, I guess. Had a little bit of grays, had some ashen brown colors, not very vibrant, but still kind of having that autumnal look. And that color scheme really made me think of like fall going into winter, where there's still a little bit color, but pretty much everything is about dead. But the second design that I really liked and went with is a more warm-toned, classic Vermont autumnal sort of color palette with the burnt oranges, the reds, and lots of different shades of browns, and just really warm and cozy. I also really wanted to bring in a little bit of that harvest feel, so having a lot of grasses and some wheat thrown in there too. It took exactly a week and a half to finish, working every single day trying to get this done.
because even though I have a limited color palette, I decided to make it much more complicated for myself. I absolutely love it. I'm really glad that I don't ever have to do this again because this took way too much time and my fingers would need to go to finger hospital if I did this again. That's it. I hope that this was informative enough for you to at least get some inspiration to make your own, and if you wanted to, kind of like follow the construction process that I made here. And if you want to incorporate embroidery, you definitely should, because it just adds a little bit of character and, you know, makes it unique to yourself. And I am absolutely just so happy with how this turned out, and it definitely is going to be a perfect add-on to another costume that I have planned for the autumn. With that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. It felt really quick, even though I'm sure I rambled, and editing me will be like, golly, why'd you talk so much? If you guys want to check out any of my other videos that I have about embroidery and all that fun stuff, definitely do that. I also have a link to my blog with different fun articles for you to read if you're really interested. But I'll see you guys in the next video, I guess. Alright, see ya.